Hello and welcome to another live lesson here at AM Language. Today I am actually at the school and conducting the lesson from there. Hope all of you had a really good weekend. If you're joining me late, if you're watching this later, make sure you fast forward maybe 5 minutes because it usually takes us about 5 minutes before we can really get into things. I'm just going to share the lesson today um, and then we'll be able to begin. Hopefully, there are no interruptions as well. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at travel review, build your language. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about traveling and we're going to talk about the language that we can develop on this subject. And it's a great subject. It's probably one of my personal favorite subjects, travel. And we shall develop our language around that. So there we go. So what we'll do is we'll wait for more people to arrive before we get started. What I would say is when it comes to this sort of Irina F. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson and thank you for tuning in. Let me know the sort of holidays you like to do. We will talk about that. We will also talk about the type of ways we can describe different places that we have been to as well. So we will try, in this short lesson, we will try to travel around the world. Now, in the background over here, you can see a really nice photo of Malta. Alida says good afternoon. Buenos dias, Alida. Thank you very much for joining the lesson today. Like I was saying, in the background over here, there's a really nice photo of Malta. I'm trying to think of where this is actually. I think this is Slimmer Ferries, I think. So quite close to here. The thing about Malta is because it's an island in the Mediterranean, there's a really strong what I would say, there's a real culture around the sea. People do like their boats here in Malta as well. So welcome to today's lesson, Irina and Alida. Thank you for joining. We'll wait a little bit more before, just to see if, just give more people a chance to join. Let me know which countries you have traveled to, and maybe you can tell me about some of your favorite countries. I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite countries. I'm very lucky. I've done a lot of traveling. So there's lots to talk about. So we'll start off with some sort of questions. We'll just see where you guys have been. So let's start off with, can you name some of your favorite countries? What have I done there? That you have visited. So we're going to start off with, oh, that's why, because it wants an American spelling. No, we can't have an American spelling for me. Okay. Stefano, good afternoon, teacher. Welcome back. Thank you very much, Stefano. So can you name some of your favorite countries that you have visited? So yes, instead of using tell me, we can use name some. Now for me, I'm going to do this by continent. So I'm going to start off in Europe, and you guys can join in as well. Now, I still need to do more traveling around Europe. Irina F says, my favorite country is Portugal. I have been to Portugal as well, Irina. Can you tell me where in Portugal you went? Alida says, okay, so the UK and France in particular, Alida, you've been to London and you've been to Paris, Alida. Wow, two very good cities to visit. For me in Portugal, I went to the very, very south of Portugal. I flew to a place called Faro, and it's just south of the Algarve. Lovely place. I do recommend Portugal. It's a great country to visit. Bruno Ocado, good afternoon. Obrigado and konnichiwa. Welcome to today's lesson. Arina says also she says she went to. Oh, you've been to Madeira. Well, I have to say, well done for choosing to go to Madeira. Madeira is a very interesting island. I particularly like Madeira because of the alcohol Madeira. It's a delicious fortified wine. Now, if you guys don't know about Madeira, it's a really delicious drink. It's fortified wine. Okay. Now, I'll just explain to you what fortified wine means. Fortified wine is a bit like port and sherry. So it's not normal wine. It's been left longer. The alcohol percentage is usually higher, and it's usually sweeter as well. Port from Portugal is a really delicious drink, and Madeira from the island of Madeira is really nice. I do recommend it. It's a really nice after dinner drink in particular. Porto, says Irina F. Yeah, Porto is a lovely place. I have not been to Porto, Sintra, and Lisbon. Okay, so you have done a bit of traveling around Portugal. My favorite places in Europe that I have visited, that's a really difficult one. I do need to do more traveling. But if I had to say what my favorite place is in Europe, I would say in terms of a city, I'd go with Firenze, or better known in English as Florence. The reason being is that I lived in Florence for a little bit, and I fell in love with the place and Tuscany in general. It's a fantastic part of the world. But what I would say is, if I had to name a place that maybe not everybody will have visited, but still I would strongly recommend visiting. There's quite a few places I could recommend. A lot of really nice places in France, without question. Plenty of places in Spain and France as well. But I do have what we would call, and this is the first one, okay? Some of you might know it, for X, okay? So I have a soft spot for X. Now, what is this soft spot? So I'm just trying to remember the name now. It's in Switzerland. How do you spell it? How do I spell this place? Ah, yes, there we go. Maybe there we go. Finally remembered it. So, it's a place called Saas-Fee, and it's in Switzerland. And I have a soft spot for Saas-Fee. It's a small place right up in the Alps, and it's a fantastic skiing resort, and I love skiing. So this word soft spot, what does it mean? Well, if we have a soft spot, you can have a soft spot for something, or you can have a soft spot for somewhere, or you can have a soft spot for someone. And soft spot simply means you really like it. You really like it, or you really like them. It's a good one to know. Soft spot. I have a soft spot for something, and I have a soft spot for places like Saas-Fee. It's a really nice little skiing village. So let me know where you have a soft spot for. Maybe a small place that not many people know about. I would say in terms of South America, because I recently traveled to South America, there are a lot of places I really liked. I would say let's see, I'm going to introduce some new adjectives per place. Okay, so let's start off with Quito. Okay, Quito. I thought the old town in Quito was charming. So this is the first word that I want to use to try and describe a place. Let me know where you think is charming. Now, what is charming exactly? What do we say? Well, charming is something about which is it's attractive in some sort of way. Like if it's a person, you might say James Bond is charming. You might say, let's say, a famous actress like Audrey Hepburn is charming. So there's lots of different ways that we can describe as charming, but there's something about it that is attractive. Alida says in South America, Cotangas. Oh, Katanga. Okay, right. I'm sorry. I know my pronunciation is bad. But yes, I have never been there, but I have heard about the place. Quito is a city in Peru. No, it's a city in Ecuador. It is the capital of Ecuador. One moment. I just realized I need to actually charge my laptop. One moment. I'll be back in 5 seconds. Yeah. So yes, so charming is attractive in some sort of way. So let me know which place have you visited that you thought was charming. Moving further along, I would say for me, I'm going to name 2 more places in South America. I've been to quite a few places. The other place I want to describe, hello Laura, and welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining. I have a soft spot for Playa del Ingles in Gran Canaria. Oh, wow. Now, I have been to Gran Canaries before. I can't remember, but I was very young, so I can't remember if I visited that particular place. But great use of the word soft spot, so well done. So my question is, yes, which place have you visited that you thought was charming? Now, the other place I'm going to just talk about is Cusco. Cusco in Peru, and I thought Cusco was a really nice city to visit. I really enjoyed it, and I would describe Cusco as Cusco is a fascinating place. So, what is fascinating? Fascinating is another word for interesting. Interesting. So let me know, where have you visited that you would describe as fascinating? So let me know in the comments. And I'm going to talk about one more place, and this place is in Argentina. Now, I really, really like Argentina. And if you haven't been, you definitely need to go. Now, the place I'm going to talk about is a city called Salta. And I had never heard of Salta until I went to Argentina. It wasn't a place I had heard of. So how would I describe Salta? Salta is a place you can lose yourself in. And this is a really nice way to describe a place. To lose yourself in. Alida says, Venice is fascinating and unique. Venice is fascinating and unique. Venice is a special place. I'm very lucky to have visited Venice, and it certainly is a wonderful place. Now, to lose yourself in, what does this mean? It means you are, let's say, you enjoy walking around the place so much that you forget about the rest of the world for a bit. So, I mean, this is one of my favorite things, but to lose myself in a city. I love walking around cities and exploring and losing myself in a city. And to lose yourself in a city does your mind, you enjoy walking around that you forget about everything else. You're enjoying the place so much. Now, Venice has that ability. Florence has. There are some cities in the world that can do that. I think Sydney in Australia is another place that can do that. So, my other question is, have you ever been to a place where you enjoy walking around and losing yourself? Oh, actually, I'll change that question. Have you ever lost yourself in a city? Bruno says Lugano in Switzerland and Como in Italy. Because there's two places you need to go with are fascinating instead of is fascinating, but really good use of the word fascinating. Alida says, I'm Argentinian and I don't know Salta. Shame on me. Good use of shame, by the way. Shame on you. But yes, Alida, you definitely should visit Salta. It's a lovely city, and there's some really interesting parts to visit in North Argentina, northwest Argentina. I mean, I went from the northwest all the way down to Mendoza. And that was a fantastic drive. Really loved it. Argentina's a fantastic place. So that is that's some things. Now, please tell me, have you ever lost yourself in a city? Now, I know some of you have done a bit of traveling. So, Bruno, I know that you are from Brazil, but you now live in Japan. So, I would be intrigued to hear if, when you first went to Japan, did you lose yourself Was it easy to lose yourself walking around Japan? Sorry, maybe a city like Tokyo, for example, or maybe one of the other major cities. So let me know about that. For those of you, I think Italy is a very popular place. It's easy to lose yourself in. It's such a romantic place, and France has a very similar thing to it. And then we'll move on to developing some more language. So this is the next question. Have you ever lost yourself in a city? Now, don't forget, guys, if you lose yourself in a city, it does not mean you got lost. It means of a certain level of enjoyment. For instance, you can, you can lose yourself doing something, maybe an activity or watching a film. It's when your mind is really distracted by what you're looking at. You can lose yourself in artwork as well, or you can lose yourself in a book. You really enjoy what you're looking at, what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're doing, and you lose yourself. When you lose yourself, it means you really, really relax and enjoy the moment as well. I think that's an important part of travel, to be able to go to places and enjoy it. Enjoy yourself doing something that you take pleasure in. Now, let's not forget, we must also talk about places that maybe we found what we could describe some form of disappointing. And we can use the term, it was underwhelming. And we'll look at that now, because underwhelming is a good one. Anita said, I lost myself in Paris. Well done. Great use of lost yourself. And yes, Paris is a place you could easily lose yourself in. Bruno says, when I came to Japan, I lost, instead of yourself, myself. I lost myself in Quito. It's the most beautiful and cultural city here in Japan. Well, with the exception of myself, yeah, well done. Yeah, that's a fantastic sentence, and I believe that. I have heard a lot of really good things about Quito. I've heard that Quito is supposed to be one of the best places to visit in the world for food, for example. Stefano says, in the inner part of Middle Italy, there is a place in the mountains where wildlife is in its natural habitat, a soft place far away from your stressing. You could just, from your stressing routine. We have gone with probably stressful routine where you can, don't forget, lose yourself is 1-0, okay, 1-0. So let's just look at that for 1 second. Really good sentence. We would just say stressful. When we link it with a word like routine, this is my routine, this is your routine, this is a routine. So we need to go adjective, noun. So stressful routine and lose yourself. Don't forget, loose is something different. Now, let's not forget about the negatives when traveling. And you can also go with something called it was underwhelming. Underwhelming. And sometimes you can come across a place which is underwhelming, unfortunately. I'm trying to remember 1 or 2 places that I have visited, which I would describe as underwhelming. Can I try and remember? I think it's Pino. Is it Pino? No, I'm probably wrong, actually. I'm going to go with a place in the UK, because those are the most, for me, that's one of the easiest places to talk about. So if it's underwhelming, you would say underwhelming. It's underwhelming. Okay, it's disappointing. Disappointing. It's disappointing. It's a form of disappointment. But yeah, it's disappointing. So I would say, for example, where can I say I have visited and it was underwhelming? I've visited a few places. I think, okay, I can't remember the name of the place actually, but it's in Sicily. I once visited a small village on Mount Etna, and it was underwhelming. So, have you ever been to a place that you thought was underwhelming? Now, it's disappointing in some sort of way. Now, this place, I can't remember the name of the place. It's a small village on Mount Etna in Sicily. I remember visiting, and I thought it was underwhelming. The buildings looked black. There didn't seem to be much of anything really. It was quite empty and quite sad. So I thought that was underwhelming. Now, at a slightly different level, I don't know if any of you have been to New York. Now, there are many parts of New York that are great to visit. Then there are some parts that when you do visit, you think to yourself, well, that was underwhelming. Now, for me, what I would say was certain places that had a very famous reputation. I personally thought, Bloomingdale's, for instance, the famous shopping center, I thought Bloomingdale's was underwhelming. I was quite disappointed. I didn't really see anything there that made me think, oh wow, this is amazing. So those are two examples of thinking, this is underwhelming. Now, there's lots of things that can be underwhelming. Food can be underwhelming. Travel can be underwhelming. Any experience actually could potentially be underwhelming. Laura says, I only knew overwhelming. I visited Munich for a couple of weeks and it was overwhelming. Now, if you use overwhelming, this is the opposite. Underwhelming is disappointing. Overwhelming is too much of something. And you can use it in a positive and a negative way. So if you, if you're in a really beautiful place, trying to appreciate that beautiful place can be overwhelming. I would say for me, New Zealand is overwhelming because it's such a beautiful place. So yeah, the opposite of underwhelming is overwhelming. Now we can use it in another context, but when we're talking about traveling, this is how we would use it. Something is overwhelming. Okay. So that is that's that idea there. So yeah, let me know if you guys have ever been to a place that you thought was underwhelming. So let's now look at another description that we can also use, and that is shantytown. Now, shantytown is a shantytown is a place that is what we would also go with rundown. So what we have here is rundown shantytown. This is a place that has not been looked after. It's dirty, maybe old, and has maybe lost its appeal. Okay, appeal is attraction. Appeal is attraction. So, for instance, I would describe, there are a few places in the outback in Australia that you can describe as a shanty town. For example, Bruno says, I once visited China, Beijing. It was underwhelming. The traffic is awful and you have to wear masks because of the pollution. Yeah, I can imagine that being underwhelming. Definitely underwhelming. I completely agree. So, trying to think of a really good example of a shanty town that I have been to. This is it. The name. Okay, I've forgotten the name. Okay, I can't remember the name of the place. This place, though, was in Australia. And it was a town that was a part of Melbourne. And I liked Melbourne. I thought Melbourne was a really good city. But this part of Melbourne was a bit of a shanty town. It was run down. It was disappointing. There was nothing about it that was exciting. So let me know if any of you have been to a place that is run down or it's a shanty town. Let me know about that. Yeah, we're just looking at some adjectives to describe positive places in a positive way and places in a negative light. While you think about that, I am now going to give you a little word challenge, just to see if you can put the correct words in to describe some places. So the first place. Okay. So this is the challenge. Huddersfield is now Huddersfield is where I am from, actually, in Yorkshire, in the UK. So we need to think of what goes here. So that's option one. Option two. So those are your three options to try and complete this one here, talking about Huddersfield. You've got charming, underwhelming, rundown, underwhelming, or shantytown, overwhelming. So we just need to use that to finish that. But yeah, let me know where you have been. That might be a shanty town. Actually, I will ask that because I don't think I have asked that question yet. Have you ever visited a place a shanty town? Let's go with that. So let me know. So you've got two things to complete here. And okay, so Alida has gone for C. So you've said Huddersfield is a shanty town in some parts, and though it's not famous, it is still overwhelming. Okay, the first part could go, but the problem is that you've got a negative shanty town, and then you've got a positive. So Though in this particular context, we're not looking for answer C. We're not looking for answer C. We're looking for two negatives or two positives here. But good go. The first part does go, shantytown. That would make sense. And then we've got the second one over here. Have you ever visited a place you would describe as a shanty town? I think the thing about a shanty town is it is a negative. You wouldn't want to describe a place as a shanty town. A shanty town, could a shanty town be overwhelming? Maybe, but we'd have to give it a very specific context. Stefano says, I guess A is the correct answer because of but, which involves two opposites. Let's see. I can see what you're going for there, Stefano. So Huddersfield is a charming place in some parts, and though it's not famous, it is still underwhelming. You know what? Okay, that wasn't the answer I was going for, but I suppose it's not totally wrong. Yeah, it wasn't the answer I was looking for, but you're not totally wrong. I can see why, because of the but. You make a good point. I didn't really think about that. It's not the answer I'm looking for, but I can see why you've gone for it. And maybe that was what Elida was thinking as well. Maybe the but was the thing that made you think two opposites. In which case, that's something to think about on my part. But for all case, I've basically told you the answer. So the answer I was looking for was B, which is rundown, underwhelming, because then it reads Huddersfield is Huddersfield is a run. No. I've just realised what I've done. No wonder I added an extra. That's meant to. No wonder. Okay. I put in, and that's probably why Alida also went for shanty, because then you would need that. No, that was meant to be like that. Apologies. Huddersfield is run down in some parts, and though it's not famous, it is still underwhelming. That was the answer I was looking for. Let's do this one again. Maybe that question was unfair. Okay, let's go again. I'm going to go with. Okay, I'm giving more direction with this one. So neg is short for negative, pos is short for positive. So Milan has some areas that are, but having said that, it is still to see some of its famous sites. You can use the same options as similar options from above if you want to change. Actually, I'll leave it up to you guys what you answer here. I think this is a better question. I think it's a fairer question. I think the thing with these sort of questions, the teacher does need to give you guys an indication, perhaps an idea of if you're looking for negative or positive. So in this case, the first one has to be negative and the second one needs to be positive. Okay. But yeah, overall, I would say certain places I would love to revisit that I have visited. I really liked Argentina and I would like to go back. Italy, I always want to go back to Italy, especially for the food and wine and countryside. France as well. Australia and New Zealand are two fantastic countries. With the United States, would I visit New York again? No. I think instead of New York, I would rather visit a different part of the United States. I've also been to Alaska, which is a great place actually. But yeah, I think the USA is it's such a big country. There's lots of places to visit, so you don't need to go back to the same place. It's not like a small island like Malta, where when every single time you come, you end up seeing the same places because it's a small place. Stefano says underwhelming and fascinating. So Milan has some areas that are underwhelming, but having said that, it is still fascinating to see some of its famous sites. Well done. That works well. Let's see, Alida or anyone else, would you like to come in with your own thoughts on this last sentence? Any ideas what you would write for it? Anything in particular? Laura says run down and overwhelming. Let's see, Laura, does that make sense? Milan has some areas that are run down, but having said that, it is still overwhelming to see some of its famous sites. Good. Yes, Laura, that works very well as well. Excellent. Well done. Okay. I'll give you guys some more time. Maybe anyone with someone else, maybe Bruno or Alida, like to come in with your thoughts on some of the answers, or maybe Arena F to see. Alida says run down and interesting. Let's see. Milan has some areas that are run down, but having said that, it is still interesting to see some of its famous sites. Absolutely, that works really well. So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like. For those of you who might be watching who are new, please subscribe and share the channel with people you know who wish to learn. So thank you very much for today. Alida, thank you very much. Laura, you too, and welcome to the channel. Stefano, you too, thank you for your contribution today. Bruno Okada, thank you very much for watching. And Irina F, thank you as well. And anyone else who has watched today's lesson, thank you very much. Tomorrow, what's the lesson tomorrow? I can't remember. Yes, let's talk about animals. Now, I don't think I have done a lesson on animals yet. So tomorrow is a lesson on animals. And if you like animals, make sure you join us for that. Thank you very much. Stay safe. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much. And bye for now. Have a lovely evening. And Sergio, oh, right. Thank you very much for watching. I didn't know you were watching. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you very much. And bye for now. See you all tomorrow.